There's a deep primal part of us that's absolutely captivated by tales of survival. It's a fascination that goes beyond mere entertainment. When we hear about someone stranded on a remote desert island, facing the raw, untamed power of nature, something ancient stirs within our DNA. We imagine ourselves in their place. Could we do it? Could we find water? Could we build a shelter? Could we hunt for food? Could we fight off despair? These stories aren't just about adventure. They are the ultimate test of human ingenuity, resilience, the sheer stubborn will to live. They strip away everything modern and comfortable, leaving only the core of what it means to be human. A thinking being, a feeling being fighting for one more sunrise. For thousands of years, our ancestors lived on the edge, their survival depending entirely on their wits, their knowledge of the natural world. In our modern lives, surrounded by technology and convenience, we've become disconnected from that reality. Survival stories bridge that gap. In the stories we are about to explore, we will see this dynamic play out in incredible ways. We will journey with real people who were thrust into situations most of us can only imagine. We will see how they faced impossible odds with courage, creativity, and unwavering refusal to give up. These are not fictional heroes. They are ordinary individuals who found extraordinary strength. Their experiences offer us profound lessons about what it truly takes to survive against all odds. Their experiences are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and offer us profound lessons about what it truly takes to survive against all odds. Our first journey takes us back to the early 18th century to the man whose incredible story of survival would later inspire the timeless novel Robinson Crusoe. His name was Alexander Selkirk, a Scottish privateer with a notoriously hot temper. In 1704, after a heated argument with his ship's captain about the vessel's seaworthiness, Selkirk made a fateful demand. He asked to be put ashore on the uninhabited island of Masa Tierra, part of the Juan Fernandez archipelago 400 miles off the coast of Chile. He likely assumed another ship would be along shortly. He was catastrophically wrong. He was left with only a musket gunpowder, a knife, a Bible, and a few basic tools. As the sails of his ship, the Cinque Ports, disappeared over the horizon, the crushing weight of his decision must have hit him like a physical blow. The initial days were a living nightmare, filled with terror and regret. The island was not a tropical paradise. It was a rugged, unforgiving wilderness. The nights were filled with the terrifying roars of massive sea lions that congregated on the beaches, forcing Selkirk to retreat inland, his heart pounding with fear. Loneliness was his constant companion, a gnawing emptiness that threatened to consume his sanity. He would scan the horizon endlessly, praying for a sail that never appeared, his hope dwindling with each passing day. But as weeks turned into months, a primal instinct for survival began to take over. Selkirk had to adapt or perish. He couldn't stay on the beach, so he ventured deeper into the island's interior. He discovered a source of fresh water and learned to hunt the feral goats that had been introduced to the island by earlier sailors. His initial attempts were clumsy, but desperation is a powerful teacher. He became a proficient hunter, using his musket sparingly at first. Then, when the gunpowder ran out, relying on his speed and agility to run the goats down on foot, a feat of incredible physical conditioning. His resourcefulness was truly remarkable. Faced with the cold, he built 2 simple huts from the wood of pepper trees, one for cooking and one for sleeping. When his clothes disintegrated into rags, he fashioned new garments from goatskins, crudely stitched together using a nail he had sharpened. His shoes wore out, but years of running barefoot over the rocky terrain hardened his feet until they were as tough as leather. He learned to tame wild cats to protect his shelter from the hordes of rats that gnawed at his supplies and even his own feet while he slept. For 4 years and 4 months, this was his world. The emotional and psychological journey Alexander Selkirk endured was as challenging as the physical one. In the beginning, his isolation was a source of immense mental anguish. The profound silence of the island, broken only by the sounds of nature, was deafening. To combat the encroaching madness of solitude, he developed routines. He would read from his Bible daily, singing psalms aloud to hear the sound of a human voice, even if it was his own. His relationship with the island transformed over time. What was once a terrifying prison slowly became his kingdom. He learned its rhythms, its seasons, and its secrets. He knew where to find the best wild turnips and cabbage palms. He could identify the edible berries and navigate the treacherous cliffs with an expert's familiarity. When he was finally rescued in February 1709 by a privateering ship captained by Woodes Rogers, his rescuers were astonished by his wild appearance and his sheer speed and strength. His rescue was not the straightforward happy ending one might imagine. Re-entry into civilization was a shock. For the rest of his life, Alexander Selkirk would often reflect on his time on the island, admitting that despite the hardship, he had never been happier or more at peace than when he was alone, the undisputed king of his remote, isolated world. Now let's fast forward to the 1960s for a story that completely flips the dark narrative of William Golding's famous novel, Lord of the Flies. In 1965, 6 teenage boys from a Catholic boarding school in Nuku'alofa, Tonga, grew bored with their strict routine. Sione, Stephen, Kolo, David, Luke, Mano, fueled by a thirst for adventure, they decided to borrow a small fishing boat and sail to Fiji, hundreds of miles away. They packed a few bananas, some coconuts, and a small gas burner, but they had no map, no compass, and very little sailing experience. Their youthful optimism quickly turned into a terrifying ordeal. That first night at sea, a ferocious storm descended upon them. The wind ripped their sail to shreds and the waves smashed their rudder, leaving them completely at the mercy of the vast Pacific Ocean. For 8 agonizing days, they drifted aimlessly. Their meager food and water supplies ran out quickly. They were sunburnt, dehydrated, and terrified. They tried to collect rainwater in coconut shells, sharing every precious drop. Hope was beginning to fade as they grew weaker with each passing day. Just as they were about to give up, they spotted land on the horizon. It was the uninhabited volcanic island of Ata, a rugged and rocky outcrop that had been abandoned a century earlier. With their last reserves of strength, they managed to swim and drag themselves ashore. The island was not a sandy paradise, it was a harsh, challenging environment. But for the boys, it was salvation. Unlike the fictional boys in Golding's novel who descended into savagery, these 6 Tongan boys immediately decided they would work together. They made a pact, they would never quarrel. They divided the work, creating a roster for garden duty, kitchen duty, and guard duty. They started their days with a song and a prayer, and ended them the same way. The boys' resourcefulness on Ata was nothing short of genius, a testament to their practical knowledge and collaborative spirit. Their first priority was finding food and water, seabird eggs fish. They caught by hand in tidal pools. Before long they discovered the ruins of the old village. There they found wild taro bananas and even chickens that had been running wild for generations. They needed fire but had no matches. After many failed attempts, 2 of the boys, Stephen and Kolo, managed to create fire using a friction method they had learned, painstakingly rubbing 2 sticks together until an ember was born. They guarded this fire zealously, ensuring it never went out for the entire duration of their stay on the island. Their life on the island became a remarkable feat of communal living and engineering. They built a permanent shelter, a small commune with a food garden, penned-in chickens, and a gymnasium with makeshift weights. They even constructed a badminton court to keep their spirits up and pass the time. One boy, Kolo, crafted a makeshift guitar from a piece of driftwood, half a coconut shell, and 6 steel wires salvaged from their wrecked boat. He would play it in the evenings and the boys would sing together, their voices carrying across their small, isolated kingdom. One of the most challenging moments came when Stephen slipped one day, fell down a cliff, and broke his leg. The other boys didn't panic or abandon him, instead they sprang into action. They carefully carried him back to their shelter, set his broken bone as best they could, his leg healed perfectly. And after 15 months they were rescued. Not as savages, but as healthy, united young men. Our final story is one of the most extreme and harrowing tales of survival at sea ever recorded. On November 17, 2012, an experienced Salvadoran fisherman named Jose Salvador Alvarenga set out from the coast of Chiapas, Mexico for what was supposed to be a 30-hour deep-sea fishing trip. He was accompanied by a younger, less experienced fisherman named Ezequiel Cordoba. They were in a small 25-foot open-topped fiberglass boat with no canopy and a single engine. They were hunting for shark, tuna, and mahi-mahi. But soon, a powerful storm, a norte, descended upon them with terrifying speed and violence. The storm raged for 5 days, tossing their small boat mercilessly. Their engine died, their radio failed, and they lost all their fishing gear. They were completely at the mercy of the Pacific Ocean, pushed further and further from shore. Their initial supplies were quickly washed away or consumed. They were adrift. As days turned into weeks, the grim reality of their situation set in. They were lost in the largest ocean on Earth, a tiny, insignificant speck in a seemingly endless expanse of blue water. with absolutely no hope of rescue. Survival became a brutal, moment-to-moment struggle. Alvarenga began catching turtles, birds, and fish with his bare hands. He would drink the turtle blood for hydration and eat the raw flesh. He taught Cordoba how to do the same, but his younger companion struggled immensely. The raw, bloody diet was too much for Cordoba to stomach, and he would often vomit, becoming weaker and more dehydrated. The emotional journey was a stark contrast between the two men. Alvarenga maintained a steely resolve, focusing his mind on survival. Cordoba, however, sank into a deep depression. He refused to eat, convinced they were going to die. After about 4 months adrift, he died. Before he passed, he made Alvarenga promise not to eat his body and to find his mother. Alvarenga kept the body with him for 6 days, talking to it as if his friend were still alive. After Cordoba's death, José Salvador Alvarenga was truly, completely alone. He realized that his survival now depended not just on catching food, but on controlling his own mind. He developed a rich fantasy life. He would imagine eating his favorite foods. He would walk from one end of his tiny boat to the other, pretending he was strolling through his home village. He would talk to himself, recounting stories from his life. He would sing songs. He would pray fervently. His practical skills remained sharp. He became an expert at surviving in his microenvironment. He learned to track the lunar cycles, keeping a rough sense of time. When it rained, he would collect every possible drop of precious fresh water. His body grew emaciated, but his will to live remained incredibly strong. After an astonishing 438 days adrift, having drifted 6,700 miles, he saw palm trees of a tiny coral atoll. He had reached the Marshall Islands. He abandoned his boat and swam to shore, collapsing on the beach. He was found by a local couple, unable to speak clearly. His journey was finally over. It was a testament to the fact that in the most extreme situations, the ultimate survival tool is not a knife or fire starter, but a resilient and resourceful mind.